And Mahavaidyanatha Iyer, another great composer, has composed magnum opus called the Mela Raga Malika, which has all the 72 Mela Karta Ragams in one composition. And it takes 4.5 to 5 hours to perform that composition.
Oh,
So to learn it, how many years? Just think.
Definitely. But I definitely know for anyone who's out there who wants to learn this, your first step is understand the history of Carnatic music first and then move on. Welcome to another session of Spotlight with. Today we have Sudha ma'am from Rhapsody Foundation, who is so generously, allowed us for another session with her, where she'll be actually telling each of our viewers about the history of Carnatic music, of where it started, and the entire misconception and myths around it. So, Sudha ma'am, over to you.
Thank you, Raghav. So let's start right at the beginning. The term Carnatic music, many of us have a misnomer that it has something to do with the state Karnataka or
Yes.
the Deccan Plaza, the plateau. Actually, if you look at the Sanskrit word, the root of Carnatic music, Karnatakam is a term used for which means tradition. So Karnatakam, from Karnatakam comes Carnatic music, which actually means that it's traditional music. So of course, because it's now related to South India, we are saying that this side of the country, south of the country, we concentrate more on Carnatic music. That is a second variation. But actually, Karnatakamana Sangeetam, that is traditional music, is the meaning of Carnatic music. So if you look at Carnatic music and its, its history, there have been two kinds of thoughts. One we call the Tamil descendants, which happened from the 2nd century BC from Silappatikaram, where there are references to music and dance, and each of our Carnatic ragams were given a nomenclature in Tamil. Okay. So that is, it's called a Pan Isai Araichi. Pan actually means ragam. Pan relates to ragam. So that is one. But the reason Carnatic, Carnatic music from where it started is as recent as the Bhakti movement of the 12th and 13th century, where, bards and others here, Purandaradasa and people were propagating music and spirituality through music and devotion to God through music to bring unity amongst people. That is what the Bhakti movement was all about. So likewise, parallelly, in Hindustani, I'm sure Mirabai, Kabir, Surdas were all doing it, right? So from Bhakti movement, that was called the Kirtana format. The format of Carnatic music then was just one Pallavi and multiple Charanams, which we call Kirtana or Kirtan or Kirtanam. All are the same. So that was the intent, where there is one single line of Pallavi or the refrain and multiple charanams or stanzas sounding similar to each other. So that was the first format of Carnatic music. And Carnatic music is 90% based on compositions because we have a wealth of them here. So all Purandaradasa, we consider him the king, the father of Carnatic music, because he was instrumental in formulating the initial exercises, Geethams. The first preliminary exercises that all of us go through were formulated by him. So he is considered the father of Carnatic music. So he also had contemporaries like Kanakadasa, Vyasaraya and all. So together they were known as a Dasakuta composers. Composers who were composing in the Kannada language and to a certain extent in Sanskrit. Likewise, after the 15th, 16th century, we saw the advent of the music trinity that we call in Carnatic music the Mummurtigal, Saint Tyagaraja, Shyama Shastri and Sri Muthuswami Dikshidhar. So these three are the main trinity of Carnatic music. We call them the gods, the saints of Carnatic music, because they have given us a different form of Carnatic which came from the Kirtana format. It became the Kriti format. So Kriti essentially has a Pallavi, which is the first line, and Anupallavi, which has 2 lines, then Charanam. And in some cases, multiple Charanam or Samashti Charanam, like the Dikshidhar school. So this format from Kirtana became Kriti. So that is the one we follow today, Pallavi, Anupallavi, Charanam. So the compositional nature of Carnatic music itself became formulated due to these three greats, which I'm telling. And interestingly, they lived in the same period and in the same Tanjavur belt, in Thiruvayar and Thiruvarur. They've all been living at the same time. And to take 2 minutes on each, Saint Tyagaraja had a lot of devotees and a lot of disciples too. And he used to live day to day by Unchavrati, and his father was a court musician in the King's Court, Tanjavur King's Court. So he had a strong base in Carnatic music, and all his compositions are based in Telugu. They are all in Telugu to a certain extent, 90% in Telugu, 10% in Sanskrit. This was Tyagaraja. Because he had a great disciple following who lived with him, he had a documentation of every one of his compositions with the ragam and talam. So authentically, it was there. Likewise, Shama Shastri came from a very affluent family, and the Ishtadaivada, or the favorite god of Tyagaraja, was Rama. So most of his compositions are on Rama, though he has composed on all deities also. For Shama Shastri, his Ishtadaivada was Bangaru Kamakshi. Bangaru means gold. In those days, before the Muslim tenet, the Bangaru Kamakshi, the Kamakshi idol, which is today also in Tanjavur, was entirely made of gold. And his family were the reigning priests who used to offer worship to her every day. So all his compositions in Telugu, Sanskrit, in Tamil, whatever, are on Kamakshi and Meenakshi. So he did not have a great disciple following, but still he had documentation of all his compositions. And his compositions were very much in the rhythmic cycle, tala based, and very intricate. Then the third composer, Muthuswami Dikshidhar, very interestingly, he comes from a Dikshidhar Parambara, and he had a brother called Baluswami, who was instrumental in bringing violin, the Western violin, into the Carnatic mode. You see now violin as an accompaniment for all our concerts, but the first person who was taught the violin through the band which played, bandmaster used to teach Baluswami the violin, Western violin. He incorporated certain changes in it to make it suitable for the Carnatic concert platform. So Dikshidhar and his ancestors played a major role, but Dikshidhar's compositions were all in Sanskrit, a hardcore Sanskrit, and his Guru Chidambaranatha Yogi also took him to Banaras, and he was there for a long stint. So you will see the influences of Drupad and Khayal in a lot of his compositions. So these three people, again, he had a very good knowledge of it, and his brother, his cousin Subbarama Dikshidhar, brought out something called in 1905 Sangeeta Sampradaya Pradarshini. This is a treatise which has documented all the ragams and compositions of that period, 17th and 18th century. So, and with more intent on Dikshidhar's compositions. So we know the ragam existence in that period, because what was sung now is not how it is sung today. It has evolved for the better or otherwise. But how it was inherently there then, he has documented it. He has given a Geeti for it, a short song. He has given a Prabandha for it, and also the composition and notations for the composition to be played on the Veena. Because he was a Vainika. Dikshidhar was a Vainika. Subbarama Dikshidhar was Vainika. So he's given with the diacritical marks for Veena playing. So that important these three people are for Carnatic music. So I wanted to take you all through from where the intent of composition came for Carnatic music.
I think that's about for anyone else who's interested in learning Carnatic music. Do tune into our next podcast too, where we'll actually take you towards a new form, which is the Indian choral music. And we'll be back with Sudha ma'am, who will be giving us a brief introduction of this new form. So thank you guys.